guys. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing, sorry, the sun just like went really down. I'm going to be doing some fast tapping and whispers, I guess, and reading a book, because there's this book that I really want to read and I want to pretend like I'm acting and living in the book. So that's actually why I wanted to do this video. So I'm going to do some tapping though, because I know you guys all love that, especially me included. So and a few various triggers, and then I'm going to read a bit because I want to, and that's why. I don't know why I talk like that. Like me making fun of myself. I just can't help it. Anyways, this is my little cousin's Starbucks cup, so not mine. And then I also have like 2 different drinks because I like to drink. Not like, I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Oh, that sounds delightful. Anyways, I was just outside and like, oh my gosh, if you can see, like half my arm is tanned and the other is not. Like, it's very weird. Anyways. Oh, some refreshingness. So nice. You may hear little kitties in the background. They're outside, and like there's a window right here, and that's just that's where they are. So you might uncomfortable position. Oh. My back's hurting a bit. I love these positions. They're just great. I smell like vitamins for some reason. You know that like weird vitamin smell when you go into your vitamin cabinet. Okay, I'm too impatient, and what I really want to do is read. So, my nose looks so weird. Anyways, oh, the soda water is all watered down. Gross. Hydrate yourself. So this book that I want to read, I just finished it. It is The Bridge. The Bridge Kingdom. I'm pretty sure I've read the preface, or like what it's about, before, and said that I would eventually read it, and so now that I've gotten back to it, I really want to just read it again. So I'll just read for like a few minutes. If you get bored, you can click away, because I know I'm bored. Okay, so I will read the preface again. Oh. So, let me just give me a moment. Okay, we're back. Actually, one more second. Much better. A nice pillow behind my back. Nice pillow. Okay, so let's get into the book. The back. What if you fell in love with the one person you'd sworn to destroy? Laura has only one thought for her husband on their wedding day. I will bring your kingdom to its knees. A princess trained from childhood to be a lethal spy. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to like lower it a bit so it doesn't sound too weird. To be a lethal spy. Laura knows that the Bridge Kingdom represents both legendary evil and legendary promise. The only route through a storm-ravaged world, the Bridge Kingdom controls all trade and travel between lands, allowing its ruler to enrich himself and deprive his enemies, including Laura's homeland. So when she is sent as a bride under the guise of fulfilling a treaty of peace, Laura is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture the defenses of the impenetrable Bridge Kingdom. But as she infiltrates her new home, a lush paradise surrounded by tempest seas, and comes to know her new husband, Aaron, Laura begins to question where the true evil resides. Around her, she sees a kingdom fighting for survival, and in Aaron, a man fiercely protective of his people. As her mission drives her to deeper understanding of the fight to possess the bridge, Laura finds the simmering attraction between her and Aaron. I like that. Aaron. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Impossible to ignore. Her goal nearly within reach, Laura will have to decide her own fate. Will she be the destroyer of her king, or the savior of her people? So, this book is so good. Like, I'm listening to the other one now. It's just like, I just can't. It's like infiltrating my mind, which I mean, I love when just books do that to you. Like, they captivate you so much. That's all you think of. Instead of like other things. I'm like, yes, captivate me. But I put soul. Anyways. let's read number 1. Laura. Laura rested her elbows on the low sandstone wall, her eyes fixed on the glowing sun descending over the distant mountain peaks. Nothing between here and there but scorching sand dunes, scorpions, and the occasional lizard. Impassable for anyone without a good camel, the correct provisions, and a healthy dose of luck. Not that she hadn't been tempted to try more than once. A gong was struck. Boing, boing. The reverberations echoing over the compound. It had called her to dinner every night for the last 15 years, but tonight it rattled her like a war drum. Laura took a deep breath to steady her nerves, then turned, striding across the training yard in the direction of the towering palm, her rose-colored skirts whispering against her legs, whispering against her legs. All 11 of her half-sisters were converging on the same place, each dressed in a different gown, the color carefully selected by their mistress of aesthetics to complement their features. Laura detested pink, but no one had asked for her opinion. After 15 years caged within the compound, tonight would be the sisters' last here together, and their master of meditation had ordered them to spend the hour before dinner in a favored location, contemplating all that they had learned and all they would accomplish with the tools they'd been given, or at least what one of them would accomplish. The scent of the oasis drifted over Laura on the faintest of breezes, the smell of fruits and leafy things, the char of cooking meat, and above all, water. Precious, precious water. The compound was located on one of the few springs in the midst of the red desert, but far off caravan routes, isolated. Secret. Click, click, click. Oh no, not yet. Just the way their father, the king of Maradrina. Oh wait. Someone's going downstairs. I'm gonna have to mute a little bit. Or just stop. The king of Maradrina liked it, and from what she'd been told about him, he was a man who always got what he wanted, one way or another. Pausing at the edge of the training yard, Lara brushed the bottoms of her feet against her calves, dusting off the sand before sliding on delicate, high-heeled sandals, her balance as steady as though she wore combat boots. Click, click, click. Her heels echoed the frantic beat of her heart as she walked down the pathway of mosaic tile and crossed the small bridge, this gentle sound of string instruments rising above the gurgle of water. The musicians had arrived with their father's entourage to provide the entertainment for tonight's festivities. She doubted they'd be making the return journey. A bead of sweat trickled down her back, the strap holding a knife against her inner thigh already damp. "You will not die tonight," she silently chanted. "Not tonight." Laura and her sisters converged on the center of the oasis, a courtyard encircled by the spring, which turned it into an island of greenery. They walked toward the enormous table draped with silk and heavy with silverware required for the dozen or more courses waiting in the wings. Servants of all of them, mute, stood behind the 13 chairs, eyes fixed on their feet. As the women approached, they drew their chairs back, and Laura sat without looking, knowing the rose-colored cushion would be beneath her. None of the sisters spoke. Underneath the table, Laura felt a hand grip hers. Oh. She allowed her eyes to flick to her left, briefly meeting Sarhina's gaze, before returning to her plate. That's a cool name, Sarhina. I like it. All 12 of them were the king's daughters, now 20 years of age, each born by a different one of his wives. Laura and her half-sisters had been brought to this secret place to undergo training that no Meridrinian girl had ever received before. Training that was now complete. Laura's stomach twisted sour, and she dropped Sarhina's hand, the feel of her closest sister's skin, cool and dry relative to her own, making her want to be sick. The gong sounded again, and the musicians went silent as the girls rose to their feet. A heartbeat later, their father appeared, his silver hair gleaming in the lamplight as he traversed the path toward them, his azure, I don't know, I like azure, but it's azure, I think. His azure eyes identical to those of every girl present. Sweat ran in rivulets down Laura's leg, even as her training had her take in every detail. The indigo of his coat, the worn leather of his boots, the sword belted at his waist, and, as he turned to walk around the table, the faintest outline of the blade hidden along his spine. When he sat, Laura and her sisters followed suit, none of them making a sound. "Daughters," leaning back in his chair, Silas Valiant, the king of Maradrina, smiled, waiting for his taster to nod, then took a long mouthful of wine. All of them mirrored the motion, but Laura barely tasted the crimson liquid as it crossed her tongue. "You are my most prized of possessions," he said, waving the glass to encompass them all. "Of the 20 of my progeny who were brought here, you are all that survive. That you do, that you thrive, is an achievement, for the training you've received would have been a test for the best of men, and you are not men." It was only that very training that kept Laura from narrowing her eyes, from showing any emotion at all. "All of you were brought here so that I might determine which of you is best, which of you will be my knife in the dark, which of you will become queen of Ithacana. His eyes had all the compassion of one of the scorpions in the desert. "Which of you will fracture Ithacana's defenses, and in doing so, allow Maradrina, allow Maradrina to return to its former glory?" Laura nodded once, all of her sisters doing the same. There was no anticipation, at least not for their father's choice. It had been made days ago, and Marilyn sat at the opposite end of the table, her golden hair braided like a crown at her brow, her dress lame to match. Marilyn had been the obvious choice, brilliant, gracious, beautiful as the sunrise, and as alluring as the sunset. Wow, I took much longer than I thought I would. Anyways, sorry about that. I hope you enjoyed the part of the book that I read. I really just wanted to do that. So, yeah, please leave in the comments, or let me know in the comments if you enjoyed that and if you want me to read more. And leave suggestions. I'm kind of out of suggestions for things that I want to do, or things to do. So leave me suggestions down below, because they'd be greatly